Hello world, it's Lee here again, and I'm here with Aaron Birkby, CEO of Startup Catalyst, and again you can see the flat irons in the background there. We've just been up on the roof, Aaron, and it was freezing up there. But anything for a good piece of content.
Yep.
So Aaron, we're really excited to be here. It's fantastic vibe going on just with the guys from last night.
Yep.
So from your perspective, what is the Startup Catalyst mission all about?
We say cultural transformation, but what that really means is infecting change amongst the individuals so that they go back to Australia and they have a bit of a different perception on what is possible and what we need to do. So Aussies are incredibly talented, but we often don't recognise that. Like, we sell ourselves a bit short.
Yeah.
And I think when you come overseas and you see that other people doing startups are just like us, and the people running these facilities are just like us.
Yeah.
They just have a few more decades maybe of learnings.
Yeah.
So if we can learn from that, bring that home, look at the best practice, bring that home, look at the culture, bring that home, and then just do epic stuff back home. Yeah.
Just do epic stuff. It's pretty simple, isn't it?
Really, it is.
But why Boulder? What's so special about Boulder?
Yeah, Boulder's incredible for a lot of it. So 6 times the national average of startups per capita, like just phenomenal.
Right.
But the parallels, look at it. People move here for the lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a relatively small town, population I think 130,000. So if they can achieve that density of startup activity here, then we can do that back home in our regional towns.
Yeah.
Where similar things, people move there for the lifestyle. This is a traditional mining town, very similar to back home with a lot of our towns. So from that sense, I think there's a lot we can learn. But also their ecosystem is really advanced where, like what we'll see today in all the meetings, is that the participants know their role. Like, they know what they're good at and they know what they're bad at, and they niche on what they're good at.
Yeah.
And then they can genuinely collaborate with others.
Yeah.
So then you end up with this like compounding effect. And just some of the cultural stuff, like, give first, founders first. We use them as lines in Australia, but here they live and breathe that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting you say that they use them as lines. It's a bit of a throwaway line sometimes in Australia.
Yeah.
So how do you think we transition that culture that's ingrained here, rather than just going back and saying it and saying the words, but actually getting it ingrained in our culture?
It's a really good question. I think, like, partly what you're doing, right? So storytelling. So we need to do better storytelling. We need to highlight when someone does genuinely give first, when someone does genuinely do something that's in the best interest of founders, they put founders before themselves. I think let's showcase that. Like, let's really celebrate it.
Yeah.
That's the opportunity. And I think also maybe calling out the bad actors as well. Like, let's be honest in the ecosystem. When we see someone that's not doing the right thing, let's all get up and give them some shit about it.
Well, I don't need any encouragement.
No, exactly.
I know, and I openly said to you this morning, that I have been frustrated at some of these, what I see as this sort of tourism type thing, where people just come along and they stick their thumb up in front of Facebook, take a photo, and go, I went to Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So why is the Startup Catalyst missions different to that?
Yeah, and it's a really good point. So I totally agree. I see a lot of the tech tourism and a lot of vanity exercise, and we don't want to be that at all. So where we differentiate is we get incredible access to phenomenal people. So today at Techstars, hopefully we'll get it in with David Cohen. He said he will. So when we go to Facebook, it's with one of the heads of engineering. We always get quite senior people, and the meetings that we have are very deep. And we have that access because we curate the audience we take, so we only take great people, and we nurture those relationships quite well. We avoid any sort of vanity stuff, so we only want meaningful interactions for participants. But the other thing I say where we differentiate, so we design our mission week to have an emotional impact on participants. So we deliberately exhaust them. The days are intense and long. We will confront them with ideas and concepts that will grate against them in some cases, so they're forced to think, and it's a shared experience with a group of like-minded people. So these aren't trade missions, they're not holidays, they're not junkets, and I hope we always get that right and stick to that.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to, changing my view on it. And to be quite honest, within, not even 24 hours of being here, I can sort of get the sense that this is really about immersing the group into the ecosystem and trying to extract as much. And I think you said something interesting this morning, but also looking at Australia from our perspective, there are some things we're doing well.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to recognise that.
Yeah.
And celebrate it.
Yeah.
Because we put ourselves down a lot. I think it's part of our culture. tall poppy syndrome, and no one wants to big note themselves in Australia, which is great in a lot of ways. But it means we just suck at that storytelling and celebrating our wins. We celebrate sporting stars, but not entrepreneurs. So.
Well, just one last question before I let you go, because I know you've got to get to the next meeting, but more about the brain drain. You know, we hear a lot about the brain, and Matt Barry's been very vocal about brain drain, and it's a real problem. And, you know, you talk about the lifestyle in a place like this. I mean, how fantastic
it is pretty good.
and, you know, if you're a skier, you just come here. If you're a startup and you're into skiing, you'd come here. So, you know, what are some of the things that we can stop that? How do we stop that brain drain?
So it's interesting. I don't mind the brain drain. So I think, like, if you're a professional athlete, you want to go to the Olympics, right? You want to compete on a world stage. So I actually think the fact that we have 22,000 Aussies in Silicon Valley is actually a good thing, and we're learning from the best. But that does have to translate at some point. And I think right now globally, that's the opportunity. You look at, you know, politics in the US. You look at what happened with Brexit in the UK. There's an opportunity right now to seize talent from around the world and attract it back to Australia, but also foreign talent back in. So I think we need to fix up our visa system. We need to have incentives, whatever that looks like, to get the expats back in. You know, some of them have done quite well, but there's massive tax implications for them if they come back. But I think ultimately we just need a kick-ass ecosystem back home. And it's starting to happen, like storytelling like this, getting that message out there that there is good stuff happening back home. Come and join in.
All right, excellent. On that note, we'll let you go, because I know you've got to get to Galvanise. We're going to follow you there, and hopefully we're going to catch up and get some awesome content today. So stay tuned. Don't forget to keep following us at Beach City Life on Facebook. Look us up on YouTube at Beach City, on Instagram, and we'll also be on Twitter. And we'll be back with more very shortly.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron.